Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Faithful Dogs podcast. I am Tyler Johnson, joined, as always, Zach DeFranco, Jack Robinson. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Doing good, dude. We're that much closer to Browns football. We're getting there, slowly but surely.
Yeah, dude, I'm doing
Keyword
great.
is slowly.
Yes.
On the topic of Browns football, just before we jump into it, I wanted to give a shout out to the 1999 to 2002 center Dave Wollabaugh, who actually is getting inducted into the Buffalo Hall of Fame, but he's still local
Heck yeah.
to Cleveland. So
Awesome.
so shout out to him. Shout out to Otto Orff, goalie for the Cleveland Crunch, Cleveland Force. He also got inducted. They're both from New York, but they're both local guys. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those guys and just congratulations on all their success.
Gotta show love to locals, man. Love it.
Gotta love
Absolutely,
the local guys.
man. Yeah, that's great. Great to hear. Shout out to them for sure. Guys, if you're joining us tonight on Facebook or Twitter, you're not yet part of the YouTube channel. What are you guys waiting for? Exclusive giveaways available on the Network 216 YouTube channel. You can go over and you can subscribe to the channel for free. Again, that's free. Exclusive giveaways that we have available only to our YouTube subscribers. We're trying to reach 2,000 subscribers, and once we do, we're going to have another giveaway for you guys. So go over, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Be sure to drop a like on tonight's video to help that YouTube algorithm grow. We got a great guest tonight. Before we get to him, we do want to just take 1 second and hear from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy.
What's up, everybody? We know that daily fantasy never stops, and Network 216 is proud to be a partner with Underdog Fantasy. Very simple to use. All you have to do is go to underdogfantasy.com, and you will just click the sign in button. You'll create an account if you haven't done so already. If you've not created an account, it'll ask you to enter code 216, and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, live draft lobbies that you get to compete with you and your friends. It's no salary cap like DraftKings and FanDuel. You get to go to a draft lobby, pick the players you want, or you can do daily pick'ems, which give you access to all the NFL and NBA games for you to make your picks every single night. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app on iOS or Android. Use code 216 to double your first deposit up to $100. Sign up today.
And we're going to bring in our special guest. He is making his return to the Faithful Dogs podcast from the Akron Beacon Journal, Mr. Chris Easterling. Chris, how you doing this evening?
Not too bad, fellas. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. We really appreciate you joining us once again. You've had the opportunity to be at Browns Minicamp and OTAs. So the first thing we want to start off with, this year's Cleveland Browns, obviously they're not in pads yet, but what are just some of the takeaways and differences you've seen from this version of the Cleveland Browns compared to last year's team?
I think it starts with 4. I think it starts with he just looks, I think, more comfortable, more confident, more back to being a quarterback, a starting quarterback in the NFL. I thought that, you watched him, if you watched him last year, there were moments where, you throw a pass, you'd be like, wow. But that was sort of hit or miss. You didn't see it as often as you thought you might, even in this setting. And then we all saw the 6 starts he had, and you can tell the rust was there. But not just that, that first week against Houston, he was soft. He was kind of talking into his chest, when, it was just, he didn't seem like what you expect your quarterback to sound like. And as each week has progressed, and now we've talked to him now 3 times during the course of the offseason, he's projecting more and more of that aura of a starting quarterback. And look, we don't need to get into the off the field stuff. We'll just keep it in football right now. But I think part of it is that the off the field stuff is, for the most part, put away, and he's had a year here. He knows he's a starting quarterback, and I think he really feels like it's his team now. And he's able to really fully prepare like a starting quarterback who's going to be the starting quarterback for 17 games, and who knows? Who knows? I mean, that's the other thing is I think you watch it, and again, it's all like you said, it's just helmets, but there's talent there.
Yeah,
you can't help but notice the talent.
Mm-hmm.
And now the question is, how does that talent play? Because it's not like some of this talent hasn't been there for several years now. But it's I'm going to be fascinated to see. I think I've sort of coming out of it. The next checkpoint for me is that week in Philly. What do they look like that week in Philly? Specifically, now forget the preseason game, but the 2 days that they're actually lining up against the Eagles in practice. And because last year that was the eye opener, like, oh, I don't know if this team is there, because the Eagles came in and kind of shoved them around those 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this year, they can go out to Philly and hold their own. I'm not saying they have to shove them around. Just hold their own. Just, make it look like a one-on-one, make it look like it's an equal fight. Then I think you got something. That's when I think you can really start to rev up the hype train a little bit and think that this team has a chance to do something and get back to the playoffs and truly consider itself one of the AFC's true contenders.
So how does the vibe feel this year compared to most? Because, I mean, obviously last year he wasn't around for a lot of, these practices. And then you're hearing all these wide receivers saying, playing with a quarterback as elite. And they keep using the word elite as Deshaun Watson. And you're seeing, like you said, it's just helmets. But you're seeing some of these throws he's making in practice alone. And that's elite quarterback playmaking right there. The ball placement, the kind of throws he's making. How's the vibe feel offensively alone for the Browns this year compared to most?
Confident. I mean, I think it mirrors Deshaun, to be perfectly honest, is that and that's what you expect. You want your offense to take its cue from the quarterback. And I think last year they couldn't take. There was so much uncertainty between, was he getting suspended? How long was he getting suspended? Was he even going to play this year? What does he know about this, that, and the other? Just get adjusted. That I don't think he couldn't put off any sort of vibe, because, I mean, there was a good chance that Jacoby was going to be the quarterback for all 17 games last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that chance was out there. This year, they are all feeding off of Deshaun. There's the body language beyond Deshaun. The energy is significantly higher. I think there's an excitement out there, and they've got some guys in now that Elijah Moore. I can't wait to see what they do with this guy when they actually let him. We actually get out there on the field September and start really playing games where you can really see what they're doing. We've seen things, but we can't really report on it. But it's but again, it's all kind of walk through underwear Olympics, I think somebody called it. But what they can do with this guy, I'm fascinated by it. And get Amari back out there healthy and playing. I mean, that was my I apologize for I'm rambling a little bit here, but
good.
Last year, that was the most eye-opening part of last year, was watching Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about Amari Cooper. I knew about him dating back to Alabama, but watching him day in, day out practice and be in the locker room and just everything he just work gave me a greater appreciation for Amari Cooper, the professional Amari Cooper, the star that I don't think everybody, I don't think we fully appreciate the kind of player he really is, the kind of star he really is. And I think that's a guy who, you got other guys. I think there's a chance, there's just so many weapons that offense has that it's going to be fun to see when they take the training wheels off, what this offense does.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think one of the big things that I think a lot of people are asking is just, with the whole thing with the DeAndre Hopkins being available and people saying, well, do we want to add him to this wide receiver core? Do we want to add him to this team? Do you think that the Browns, just seeing what you've seen and experiencing the wide receiver room in an active environment, do you really think that the Browns need a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, or are you sold on the guys that we have there already?
Need? No, I don't think they need DeAndre Hopkins. Now, that said, you don't turn down DeAndre Hopkins if you can get DeAndre Hopkins, you find a way to make it work. I just have never been on the DeAndre Hopkins train because I just finding the way to make it work was always the seemed to be the bridge too far in terms of that. But I like this receiving core. Another guy I think we're sleeping on is Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think last year unlocked something for him. I think last year was the year he sort of proved as much to himself as to anybody else that I am that receiver that everybody talked about. Everybody talked about when he was at Cass Tech and when he was at Michigan and the guy Urban Meyer just fawned over and all of that. I think we finally saw that guy, and he finally saw that guy, and that's why with Amari and Donovan and what Elijah's going to do and what Marquise Goodwin, I think it's a solid, and even Cedric Tillman. I mean, Cedric was getting some reps with the ones during minicamp. There's just a lot of ways you can mix and match that group that I think they're good if healthy. Now that's always the big caveat. When healthy, I think they've got a really, really nice receiving room.
And Chris, we've talked, we could talk offense all day long because everyone wants to talk about Deshaun Watson. But on the defensive side of the ball, Browns bringing Jim Schwartz to be their defensive coordinator, who is very well respected around the NFL, one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. Who is a player on the defensive side of the ball that has really stood out to you that you've been able to see so far?
I mean, I really like Thornhill. I like what he brings to the defense. I think he brings something they didn't really have last year, even with JJ3. I think Juan can play that deep safety spot, and then look, this team is going to play a lot of nickel. I think a lot of either, whether it's three corners or three safeties, they're going to play a lot of that. I think that's almost what they prefer. But I like what I just like the leadership he provides back there. And, on top of, three really, really good cornerbacks. And then, that defensive line, I'd like to say somebody stood out, but it's hard to say somebody stands out when you're playing patty cake off the snap. But I physically, when you just look at them, body types and everything, I think it's what you want your defensive line to look like. It's what the Eagles looked like when they showed up last year. Mm-hmm. Their defensive line looked so. I think that's what you want. You want a playoff contending defense to look like. And again, it's sort of like with the receivers, the mixing and matching Schwartz can do with this defensive line, but by moving Za'Darius inside, putting Obo next to him, and then put Za'Darius and Dalvin in the interior, Miles and Obo on the perimeter, and just telling them, fellas, there's the quarterback, go get him. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's the potential is just that's what's going to be fun is how does he kind of mix and match and just sort of say, go get them, boys, because that's really what this defense comes down to. We can talk 3 techs and 5 techs and all this stuff. That doesn't matter. It's 4 defensive linemen, and your job is to. I'm going to PG the exact Go raise hell and get to the quarterback. And then whatever you can't get, you create enough havoc that when they do throw the ball, we got guys in the back end who are going to be there to either make the receiver pay or make the quarterback pay by getting their hands on the football. So,
Yeah.
if Jim Schwartz can't turn this defense around, make it in a top 10 defense in the NFL consistently,
There's an issue.
I don't know if anybody can. I question if you got to start wondering, do we have to start looking at moving some people?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Chris, just kind of sticking with the defense, actually Josh asked the question that I was going to ask, because I was looking at your roster predictions, and obviously Perry and Winfrey's legal situation we've kind of seen it get cleared up a little bit, but he wasn't on your 53-man roster prediction. And so what do you think is his real status with the team? And have you seen anything at camp that would indicate whether or not you think that he's, on the bubble, or if his position's safe? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I went back and forth on that roster projection, and that was before obviously the Texas case was settled, or I knew that the Texas case had been settled. So he was. It's clear they like him. It's clear that there's something about that the talent intrigues them. So if I do that, doing one going into camp, it might be completely different with regards to him, because it's clear there's something about him they're intrigued by, and it's clear that they're willing to endure a lot for a 4th-round pick, because they think that he fits the scheme, he fits what they want. My question is, getting to 53 with this group is tough.
Yeah.
Because there are so many guys that feel like they're mortal locks to make this team on both sides of the ball. And then it's like, well, then it becomes a distribution of it. I had 5 linebackers. We don't know if Anthony Walker or Sione Takitaki start the season on IR because of recovery from injury. So does that open up? Do they keep another couple linebackers, or do they do they just go 6 defensive ends and 4 defensive tackles? Because originally when I did, I went 5 and 5 tackles and ends, Perry on the roster, but Isaiah Thomas not. And it's like, well, I didn't like that, and I think I was sort of bouncing things off some guy. You're just kind of talking and watching and talking, and you kind of bouncing, and well, maybe they'll just go 6 because a guy like Z, they'll move inside. They may go 3 ends over the 4 line spots, but he'd just rather keep 6 ends and 4 defensive linemen. It's hard to say. We don't even know. They might sign another defensive tackle. There might be another veteran D tackle that they bring in just to add to that room. It's if you ask me right now, I think of almost about 5 days after that story published, I would say he probably makes it, but talk to me tomorrow, and I might think. It really is, because he's one of those guys that's kind of on that the margins of when they finally get this roster together and get to the 53 on August 29th. I'm going to be fascinated how they work the margins.
Yeah.
There's just so many guys that you think of. How many receivers do they take? Because if they only do 6. I can name you 5 right now, and then it's like, pick which flavor do you like better? Do you like as your return guy, Darden or Grant? Which one? They're going to keep 3 tight ends. I know it's going to be a lot of 13 personnel necessarily, but you're going to keep 3 tight ends, and Akins has been the 3rd, so you didn't sign him to that deal and talk about how his his relationship with Deshaun so much, and not keep him. And I think Bryant's a very serviceable tight end, as a too. So it's just for that purposes of that, I took Perrion off in order to keep another defensive end.
Mhm.
But again, by the time we get to camp and do another one, it might be he might make the team. But he may be one of the more fascinating people on this roster just because of the eternal questions of whether or not, of his status just on the team.
Mm-hmm.
This is just one of those years where, you usually don't see Andrew Berry give up on rookies that fast. And this is one of those years where he kind of has to. He's built a solid roster on defense alone. So,
you mentioned rookies.
Like giving up on people on rookie contracts. But
I'm just thinking of this rookie class.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Whippler. If you keep a Drew Forbes, I kept three. If you remember, I kept 3 centers, 3 guards, and then 4 tackles for the offensive line. And I cut Forbes, but kept Whippler. Well, what if they think, Forbes is going to be with more value because he can give us guard tackle. We don't necessarily need a kid who's never really played guard. The positional versatility. It's like, did you cut a 6-year guy just picked in the 6th round? Granted, it's the 6th round, not the 2nd round, but at the same time, it's going to be fascinating to see the roster construction. And not just that, but between August 29th and then September 10th, or whenever they have to get the final roster for the opener against Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris. And as we wrap things up here, it's still early, but we gave our record predictions after the schedule released, so we did it really early.
I did not. Disclaimer,
Zach did.
Chris.
My apologies.
If
Zach,
you don't want to, Chris, feel free. Do not. I did not do
it's funny because I did sort of do one after the schedule prediction. I sort of did I went off based off of the over under, and I think it was was it 9.5, 8.5?
I think it was 9.5.
I think it was 9.5. I think that's the number. And I sort of said best case in each game, worst case in each game, and sort of a way too early. Sure, why not? Let's just go with that. It's May, and I think I went 9-8. Now you could tell me that's. I think I was there. I think right now, if you say 9-8 right now, I think that's a safe bet right now.
Mm-hmm.
I will go based off what I've seen. Again, them running around in t-shirts. But if you told me that this thing, Watson plays like Deshaun Watson, and the defense really, if Myles Garrett finally hits that next gear and becomes, plays at that defensive player of the year level, I'm not saying, they can win 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, what if this is all somehow fool's gold? And boy, that's a hell of a fool's gold. The skill, 7's there also.
Yeah.
It's just
that early bye week. That's what I look at.
The early bye week doesn't. I don't like that. I don't like Denver, and I don't like going Denver and LA back to back, and back. I don't like 4 division. I do, but I don't like 4 division games and 3 division games in the first 4 weeks because on one hand, you're at least familiar. You're coming out. It's not like you don't know a lot about these teams. Save for Baltimore, what the Baltimore would be with Monken's offense. But at the same time, that requires you to hit the ground running. Otherwise, you're putting yourself behind you are putting yourself behind the 8 ball right off the bat in terms of division games, AFC games, and you're just creating a uphill battle off for you the rest of the way that I'm not sure you can really overcome, especially with 2 of those 3 games at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Chris, as we're wrapping it up, please let everyone know, as always, where they can find your work at. You do a great job covering the Browns, and we always appreciate your time.
You can find it at beaconjournal.com. I'm on vacation this week, next week, and a couple weeks after that. It's amazing what happens when you're not waiting for hearings and everything. You can take it. You can take a little summer break, but there's still going to be stuff. I have plenty of stuff on that I wrote before I got on vacation, so that keep the fans interest and at C Easterling ABJ on Twitter.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you as always for joining us. We always appreciate your time and your insight.
Hey, thanks. I always enjoy being on with you guys.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Chris.
Thank you, man.
Thanks. That was Chris Easterling with the Akron Beacon Journal. You guys going to want to make sure you check him out. Also, I saw people in the chat. Yeah, I don't know what it was. Things were getting covered up. Things were getting covered up for whatever reason. So I kept trying to switch because we used to have a bottom. Zach, you know what you're talking about, like kind of like a bottom here where we have us on the bottom and then the picture. So I apologize for that. I was trying to mess with it so we could get the best view possible, and it just didn't. I don't know. All right, we'll figure it out next time. But anyway, guys, there was a lot to talk about from all that. Wow, this is a fail on multiple levels, dude. Okay, we'll just leave it. I don't know. Anyway, a lot to talk about from what Chris said, but I think as we all know and have said for months, it rides on four shoulders. This team is going to go as Deshaun Watson goes, and what Chris said is everybody is vibing with Deshaun Watson. He has the ear of everyone on this team. He is the leader of this team. That shouldn't surprise you guys, but what were your thoughts on what he had to say about Deshaun Watson?
I mean, it's kind of like everything you needed to hear as a fan and want to hear as a fan. I mean, you have an elite quarterback now. You have someone that the team is rallying around. The coaching staff, I don't know if you guys heard Kevin Stefanski's comments about Deshaun as well, just the throws he's making, how you see how he saw elite quarterback play in the 6 games last year where us as fans were like, let's get on the next season. But, it's just really great to hear these kind of things. Last offseason was, even as fans, for us covering the Browns, I can only imagine what it was for media like Chris and, the team alone, how exhausting it had to be, because as fans alone, I just know that last offseason was just,
it was
exhausting. It was terrible to go through as a fan. So now actually getting to talk football, Deshaun Watson, off the field issues aside, football Deshaun Watson, it's a breath of fresh air. And what you're hearing is what you expected to hear for a franchise quarterback.
No, that's exactly it. Like that, I feel like this is what we all should be expecting to hear, because obviously we all saw what he could do, even in just the little flashes last year, and obviously just watching his play from before the suspension, that he is an elite quarterback. And I mean, now he has he obviously had 6 games last season. He's had the full offseason curriculum. He's doing all of the stuff that he needs to do. And he doesn't have to worry about, anything coming up that's going to take him out of football hopefully that we know of. And like that. And obviously when you have that kind of freedom, and when he knows that he's going to be the starting quarterback day one, and he gets to prepare that way, and everyone there knows that he's going to be there day one, they're all working together, knowing that they're working for, the entire season. Obviously the vibe is going to be way better. You're going to be able to see really what he's really like, because he's not going to be coming off of 2 years of rust. Even in practice, it matters. And it's just a completely different vibe, because it's a completely different season. It's a completely different circumstance. So, I mean, I'm just happy to know that he's essentially recovered back to the, at least he's as close to form that he's been since 2020.
Yeah, it's really encouraging to hear for sure. I saw a ton of questions in the chat. So, guys, sorry we don't get to those. We don't have a lot of time with some of these guests. So we do have questions that we want to ask them. If we ever run over, we will always be sure to ask the guests some of your questions. But I saw a couple that we probably want to discuss. So first off here, can we be enthusiastic about David Bell? Not many people have been, from what it sounds like. I mean, he did make a touchdown catch in 7-on-7, I know, when Deshaun Watson I believe it was last Tuesday, had one incompletion the entire day. So he did that. Outside of that, I haven't heard much on David Bell.
The only an issue is that Chris actually on his 53-man roster doesn't even have David Bell making the team. So it's a difficult position for this team to find room for David Bell, because I mean you just have so many guys. Obviously you have Cedric Tillman coming in as a rookie, and it sucks because David Bell, he has great potential. He showed it at Purdue, and you hope that he can find a role on this team. It's just how many wide receivers are they going to keep on the roster? And it's becoming more and more difficult to find a spot that he fits.
Yeah. Some people think he might get cut. I don't think that happens, but it would be interesting for sure.
I mean, like Jack said, Chris Easterling didn't even have him on his 53. So, I mean,
that would be difficult, man. That's a difficult one.
It does kind of make sense, though, if you want to keep Cedric Tillman and Jakeem Grant on the roster, because you got Goodwin, who I think he's making the 53. He looks great with Deshaun.
He's got guaranteed money.
Elijah Moore, Peoples-Jones, Cooper. So Tillman or Jakeem. If it's going to be, I think, between Bell and Grant. But I think, if anything, Grant still makes it just because of returning, just in case.
And because they don't want to put Donovan Peoples-Jones back there. He's proven he's too valuable to be put on kickoff returns and punt returns. It's just not worth it, I think.
I don't even think Jakeem Grant makes the roster. I think Jalen Darden makes the roster as the return man. I think they like Jalen Darden. I mean, they keep in mind we claimed him late season off waivers last year. He's worked out with Deshaun Watson a ton in Houston this offseason. Not saying that means anything, but also he's looked pretty good from some clips we've seen. So
yeah,
I think if Jalen Darden, he's a lot younger than Jakeem Grant. He also has already shown he can fill that role in Tampa Bay. And I mean, at this point, it would make sense to me, and doesn't have the injury history. I would love Jakeem Grant to be on this roster. I just think if they can get younger with Jalen Darden, I think they would do that. Josh asks, with Perrion Winfrey, how is he looking so far? The only thing on Perrion Winfrey, outside of him being clear from his legal issue, he's besides one day, he was outside for one day with the team. Other than that, he was inside. There's nothing. We got nothing on Perrion at this point.
A lot of people said it was because of that carjacking stuff, but I think it was because of the legal issues too.
Yeah,
I do. So
I do too.
But I mean, I would not be shocked if Perrion Winfrey doesn't make the roster this year. As of right now, I would not be shocked.
I mean, yeah, it's not even about the ability. Like Chris was saying, like they think that he has incredible ability. It's just like personally, obviously last year, I mean, he was benched for 2 games because of off the field issues.
Miles couldn't even get him to get his act together, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how many chances can they really give him? And obviously, he settled this legal stuff out of court, and it's all settled. It doesn't matter. It's obviously nothing came of it, but it's just like when you consistently have, especially with a young player like Perrion, when you have, and he's only a 4th round pick, it's obviously it's more than nothing. But I mean, at what point do you just say, okay, how much can we really depend on this guy to produce and be available? Because obviously the best ability is availability, and if he's doing things that are against the conduct of the team, which he already has done twice or 3 times now, at what point does Andrew Berry just say the talent's there, but I just don't know if personally we can continue to deal with a guy who's obviously, yeah, he might have a bright future and he's on a rookie deal, but he's just not available.
And that's the question you have to ask yourself with Perrion Winfrey. It's hard to know how talented he really is. Truly, because it's not like he absolutely. I mean, he had some splash plays at Oklahoma, but he's never been good against the run. He's always been more of a pass rushing defensive tackle. He did nothing last year. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Every defensive tackle last year looked awful, but he still hasn't done much, and he's had legal issues. So what at this point is keeping him on this roster? Not really a whole lot. If you add a veteran defensive tackle like Matt Ioannidis or Shelby Harris, Perrion Winfrey to me is on the chopping block. He has to legit find a way to make the roster at that point. Drew once again asks, is Jed motivated by 4? I don't know if anything motivates Jed Wills. I don't know. That's a great question. There's Jed Wills is something else. Does Elliott look good? Jordan Elliott, apparently Jim Schwartz has been impressed with Jordan Elliott. Myles Garrett has said that Jordan Elliott looks good, but we also heard Joe Woods last offseason say that Jordan Elliott looks good. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean,
Do
are
with
we
that
really
as
going
you
to trust?
will.
Are we really going to trust anything Joe Woods says about defensive players?
No. But it's also just hard to trust. Like, hearing anyone say that Jordan Elliott is looking good is kind of like,
well, they're also not going to. They're also not going to, probably say that he looks terrible. I mean, there's not really a lot to judge them on right now, other than, I guess, the exercises that they're doing and the small little drills. But I mean, yeah, so it's not really anything that they can look at and say, yeah, well, he looks like he's going to be terrible this year because of this drill that he did where he was just awful. I mean, other than Anthony Schwartz, I don't think you could do that for any player.
It's true. It's a good point. That's a good point. He also asks, what's the deal with Kellen Mond? Kellen Mond will be on the roster until the preseason, and then he'll be cut. So that's Kellen Mond right there. He will not have a future in Cleveland. And that was the case when you drafted Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
That's correct.
Because now you have your third quarterback at least, because Josh Dobbs will be the backup this year because he is guaranteed $2 million. So he will definitely be the backup. Let's see. How many games OBJ got in him? I say 5-7. I don't know. I hope he succeeds. Truly, I hope OBJ is healthy and can play well, but I don't know.
No, I hope he plays. I just hope he plays bad. Like I hope he plays all 17 games, but he's like 5.
I'm not rooting for him to suck. I'm not rooting for him to suck.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, because he plays for the Ravens. I hope he sucks.
I hope he sucks 2 times a year.
I just hope he doesn't
2 times
get
a year.
hurt.
There we go. I hope he's bad against the
hurt.
Browns. I don't care how he performs anytime else.
I don't want him to get hurt, but I don't want him to be a weapon for the Ravens. That's it.
I don't think he'll be a weapon. I think he'll just be a solid wide receiver for him.
But that's more than they've ever had, like, since Lamar's been there. So like that's already too much. A solid wide receiver that isn't Marquise or Hollywood Brown. Like, come on. That's too much.
Drew also said, Jacob got me all hyped about Bell last year. A lot of people were hyped about David Bell. I was hyped about David Bell.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work.
We were discussing if him or DPJ was going to be wide receiver 2 last year, which is insane looking back at it now. But
yeah, I probably should go back and delete that tweet.
There are probably a lot of tweets you should go back and delete, Tyler.
Yeah,
but you know what? One thing I respect about you is that you stand firm on the hill.
I do the best I can. I do the best I can until
Who cares? People's opinions change.
Who
cares? People's opinions change.
This is what I'll say. I'll say that if Deshaun was starting, I think David Bell might be a bigger part of the offense. I think that he might have established himself a little bit more as like an actual playmaker, but because we were essentially, playing, we were playing with a much more limited player. You had to kind of shoulder a lot of the burden onto guys that have proven it in the league, like Amari Cooper, like Donovan Peoples-Jones, like David Njoku. So those guys kind of took all of the passing reps essentially from guys like David Bell who couldn't really develop. So it sucks, but it just is kind of how the situation played out. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully they can find a way to keep him on the roster. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I still think that I would like to, this ain't no Ravens podcast. This is a Ravens hate podcast.
It's funny. I was a part of a AFC North roundtable last week, and dude, Ravens fans are brutal. Like they're good. Seriously, they were good people for sure, but man, they are like, Lamar's healthy. Oh, we can beat anybody. We can win a Super Bowl. We got Lamar healthy. Oh, it's over. Like, all right, cool. We got Deshaun Watson. So,
I mean, what happened when they had MVP Lamar?
Exactly. I will say the only thing I'll give the Ravens a little props for, their receiving core is probably the best Lamar's had since he's been there. That I will say. And that's not saying much though. As we're wrapping things up, guys, anything else you guys want to add or discuss before we wrap up minicamp? And again, we're 5 weeks away from training camp.
Jeez, dude. We're getting there, but like I said, slowly but surely we're getting there. Football season. It's that time of the year where you just want it to start. You just want to watch some football, dude.
Yeah. I'm wondering how likely is it that the Browns go into or make it like partially through training camp without another running back?
I think that I
I
don't
think they
know.
signed somebody.
Because
I
right
think they
now,
signed a vet. Yeah.
Because right now Chris has Demetric Felton as RB3.
I think they signed James Robinson.
I would
I think
love
so.
James Robinson. I would love James Robinson as RB3, or I guess he'd be RB2.
I know he's coming back from injury, like because that is why he was cut by the Patriots. Is he's slow recovering from his injury?
Mm-hmm.
I'd sign him, man.
I would.
There's no reason why. At that point, you're not going to find a better third running back. You're not. Go get James Robinson. Make this easy, or you wait until the end of preseason until Cordell Patterson's cut and you sign him. But I think that's more of a pipe dream. I would love it though, personally. It's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure. Next week we're gonna have a different type of show. It's gonna be kind of fun. My thought process, and we'll discuss this more off show, but we want to give you guys an idea what this is gonna be. Kind of a Browns alternate universe type of situation here. Let's say the Browns don't go out and get Deshaun Watson last offseason. We're going to play through that scenario. Who ends up court?
Why?
No, because it's something fun.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
It's like and we're not talking Baker, but we're talking who do they go for at quarterback if they don't get Watson? We talk about all the draft picks they have, all the cap space they have, and we make this interesting. And we see how that Browns team what we could create that Browns team on paper compared to what the Browns are now. We'll have tables up for how much salary cap space we had before we got Deshaun Watson. We'll look at the free agent list. We'll see what our needs are, and we'll go through and we'll see what we can do. And we'll see how that team that we build would stack up to last year's Browns. I think that's fun. It's like Madden.
That does sound like fun. I would love to. That sounds interesting to me. I don't know,
like that.
Hey, all I remember was that the week when we got told, "Oh, Browns are out of the running," right? I think it was like the Wednesday, or like it was like the Tuesday. It was like right in that time when we were doing the show, because like I think he announced that he was coming to the Browns on Friday or something. I think that's when it happened. I remember we were all sitting like, okay, well, who are we looking at? We basically we had this show and we were like, okay, we tank this season, we go for XYZ quarterback. Like, I mean, we've had this discussion, so I'm curious, like going back in time, just what kind of team we could construct. Just from
this is how we're gonna do this is, and again, this is why we're gonna think about this for a week. Are we going to go – who are we going to get as a quarterback for next year, or are we going to draft somebody? Or are we going to wait until this draft class with C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and we're going to have the draft capital to trade up? Do we go get a quarterback? So this is why this is going to be fun. This is going to be different. We've never done anything like this. But, guys, everyone in the chat, give us some suggestions. Who are some players that you potentially, in an alternate universe, you would have liked to see the Browns add to the roster? And we'll see what we can do.
If
we never traded for Deshaun, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. You never trade for Deshaun Watson. Think of all the quarterback. That's
what would have done in general. Just at
Zach. That's the question, man. That's the question. What would we do? That's where it gets interesting.
I don't even want to think about it, dude.
Well, don't worry. You have a whole week to think.
It's more so, dude. It's just like we need topics. We got 5 weeks till training camp. Might as well have some fun.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what kind of fun you're having, Tyler. I don't know.
I'm trying to get creative, dude. I'm just trying to like think of.
Dude, there was a point where we were talking. Dude, that's why I don't want to talk about.
We were talking about Marcus Mariota.
Dude.
We were talking about, dude. We were talking about Matt Ryan. We were like, yeah, dude, bring Matt Ryan.
Brother, we actually kind of talked ourselves in the Marcus.
Time of Browns discussion ever.
Dude,
we were like,
we actually talked ourselves in. We talked ourselves into Marcus Mariota and actually saying like he could be a serviceable QB1 here. Like we were actually convincing ourselves. that he could be the guy
dude,
for a year.
Those were the dark days. Those were terrible.
That's why I don't even want to talk about it, but let's do it. Whatever.
Do it. No, I want to do it. I want to do it. So bad.
No.
Oh, dude, wait. Actually,
Josh, by the way, I love this idea. I love this idea. We'll plan something in the future before training camp. This would be fun.
You know
we can have a maximum of 10 guests, so we can't do more than that. But that would be fun. We'll see what we can do. We'll put something out on Twitter in the future.
We'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, that would. I agree.
Time.
That would be fun.
We got time to think it over. But I remember the
guys,
theory that we had all had was Jameis
anyone
Winston.
Oh my goodness. This is definitely gonna be.
This is gonna be a good show. Oh, I like this idea now.
It is gonna be fun. And Zach's gonna come up with a thumbnail, and it's gonna look so confusing. Like, who is he gonna put? The question is, who will he put on the thumbnail? You have to tune in next week to find out.
Marcus Mariota.
Hell yeah, man. I love my boy Marcus.
Oh man, everyone's like, stop! Don't remind me. It's just a fun exercise. It'll be fun. I'll have salary cap stuff pulled up. I'll have free agents from last year pulled up, and let's see what we can do. Because now you didn't give $250 million in guaranteed money. You got some things you can do. So
you got a rebuilding structure to figure out. That's what you have.
You're right. Hey, you're right. Do we go after Aaron Rodgers? That'll be
That's interesting.
We'll see.
Geez, this is now that I'm looking at it, that makes sense.
As we're wrapping things up, guys, we do, as always, want to take a second and discuss our partner Homage. Right now, guys, if you're brand new to Homage, you're really missing out, but you can go to their website, and I believe you get a 10 or 15% discount on your first order if you just enter your email address and subscribe to their emails. So you want to make sure you take advantage of that offer, but not only that, they released some new Browns gear that you need to go to the website and check out. The Cleveland Browns Stadium tee, you want to make sure that you go over and check that out. There are also some other ones that I want them all, honestly, but again, I would have no money if I used it all in Homage. But what do you guys like best about the product itself? And not only the product, but just the designs that you're getting.
Listen, it's Father's Day. They have a Father's Day Browns shirt on the website right now. If you haven't gotten your dad something, which we all know that you're all putting it off to the last second.
Correct.
Buy something on there right now. It's a sick shirt. They're all comfortable, breathable. It's getting nice outside, but then it's also getting cold outside at the same time. You need to get him something that he's going to want to wear around the house, outside, doing lawn work, whatever the heck your dad does. Get him a nice shirt from Homage, especially one that shows that you appreciate him.
I won't lie, real quick. I know none of us here are Denver Nuggets fans, but the new Nuggets championship designs that Homage dropped are pretty dope. They're pretty dope, dude. The one with the trophy.
I do like that.
Yeah, I won't lie. It's pretty sweet. I won't get it because I'm not a Nuggets fan.
Don't worry. When the Cavs win next year, we'll get a cool design.
Yeah. Trey Donovan Mitchell. He's a Mets fan. He's a Mets fan.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a whole other subject. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh man. Well, guys, like Josh said right there, be sure to like, share the video, join Network 216, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Again, it's completely free to subscribe to the channel. We do have a membership option for you guys to check out. We're going to be adding more perks to that. Just a slight preview. We are developing a Discord for all you guys. That way, we want to be able to communicate with you guys directly. We're going to have access to some betting content from Zach and Jordan, as well as other members of Network 216 for you guys. But you'll have to make sure that you are a member of Network 216 if you're not already. You can still join the Discord for free, but some spaces will be only for members. So it's $2.99 a month. No brainer right there. But also, we're going to have – and it's what's going to be fun about it. There's going to be rumors in there from all your Cleveland sports teams, Ohio State recruiting updates, MLS, European soccer, UFC. You guys name it. We're going to have it on the Discord for you to have some fun conversation with you guys. So we're going to be putting out something on that later this week, but be sure to check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to communicating with you guys a lot more. Zach, is there anything you want to add on the Discord?
That was basically perfect. I'm looking to me and Ross from Dog Chalk are looking to go live with that by either tomorrow or Friday at the latest. So it's getting there. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It'll be a lot of fun. And again, guys, that is going to be free. There are going to be certain spaces that you'll have to become a member of Network.
well, it'll be free.
It'll
Be free. It'll be free for now. There are certain things that to get access, you're gonna have to pay for. So it'll be free for now. So if I were you, I would get in early. That's what I would say. So
yep.
Yes,
It's
sir.
gonna be fun, guys. So if you want to interact with all of us, if you want to tell us why the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl this year, or why we're going to go 0-16, interact with us in the Discord.
17.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, we appreciate all you guys. We really do, for the support that you give us, for supporting Network 216. Coming up in, it is a little over an hour, we do have the Dog Chug. Jordan is from Network 216 Betting is going to be on the Dog Chug tonight. You guys want to make sure you don't miss that. It's going to be a good time. That's at 10 o'clock on the YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. Next week's show is going to be a lot of fun. We can't wait to see you guys all for that. Also, we apologize for the questions we weren't able to get to tonight with Chris Easterling. Again, we don't have these guests for a long period of time. So in the future, maybe we'll have a guest on and it'll just be a question and answer from you guys. But anyway, appreciate all you guys tuning in. We can't wait to talk to you all next week. And go Browns, baby.
go Browns.
Like, comment, and sub. It's free.